Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who loves it when things escalate quickly. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I was wondering which way you were going to go with it. You didn't go the way I thought you would.
I feel like escalating quickly kind of applies to the whole weekend.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
It's the Clásico towards the end of the Clásico, towards the end of the first half. It's also the Red Bulls press against NYCFC. We'll be talking about both those things on today's show.
So I assumed it might be something related to the Clásico. I also thought there was a chance it might be a man who won't be going to South America this summer.
Well,
next summer, I guess.
My segue is going to be... All right, so this is a thumbs up, thumbs down review of everything that happened this weekend. But a thing that de-escalated, at least our interest...
There you go.
Is the Copa America. Copa America 2019, I believe on Saturday morning, maybe Friday, I'm actually not sure now. CONMEBOL tweeted out that the invitees will be Qatar and Japan.
Right.
We'd really been holding out hope that it would be the US and Mexico. There'd even been rumours that they would expand from to a 16-team tournament with 3 CONCACAF, 3 Asia plus 10 CONMEBOL. The answer is no. No US, no Mexico. Qatar and Japan are the invitees.
Indeed. Although it does sound like maybe they were initially planning to do the 16-team tournament and maybe a few teams said, no, we won't be attending. So then they went with the more standard 12.
So maybe Qatar and Japan are the invitees that RSVP'd yes?
Yep.
And everybody else RSVP'd no.
Yep.
Is that about right? It is, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, because we do have, for example, I know Grant Wall got US Soccer to go on the record and say, yes, we have been invited to the 2019 Copa America. We're still deciding what to do.
Yep.
And obviously, if you're Copa America, if you're CONMEBOL, you want the US to be there, you want Mexico to be there, because those are big sort of TV rights deals that you get.
Yeah. And I still think... I'm sad they won't be participating. I'm not surprised that they turned down the invitation.
Yes, same here, because it would have been a B team.
Yep.
There's a FIFA sort of mandate, I want to say, that says you have to send your strongest team to your local confederation tournament. The Gold Cup is in 2019. So US would have had to send its best team to the Gold Cup and a B team to the Copa America, where things would have been at best difficult.
Yes, and that's compounded by the fact that, again, the United States... at least in my thinking, still does not have a head coach right now.
True.
So
they will by summer of 2019.
They will, but if you still don't know who it is, I do wonder if there's an element of, hey, we've committed you to 2 tournaments, one of which will be a B team against some of the best teams in the world. You good with that? So I do wonder if maybe...
How many suitcases have you got?
Exactly. And why did you just frantically run out the door is the other aspect of that. So I do wonder if maybe there's
come back.
I do wonder if there's just an element of... we don't want to have too many commitments right up front. We want to make sure we get a higher end who can handle what we're giving him or her.
And then the other idea is that there are still negotiations happening for the 2020 Copa America, not Centenario.
Centenario plus Cuatro?
Yeah, Centenario style.
Centenario y Cuatro.
Where you would have all the CONMEBOL teams and then some probably 6 CONCACAF teams. You'd have a 16-team tournament. And as we move towards an unofficial merger of the regional tournaments of CONCACAF and CONMEBOL, I'm more comfortable with this idea if it is the idea that we're going to have the 2020 big Copa America.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah? Even if that means that, once again, we're definitely going to be living in our office all day.
That's fine.
We've got Euros in the morning and then whatever it's going to be in the evening.
Yeah, that's true. I sort of enjoyed it, though.
Copa Americas. I think that's what we always go back to, right?
Yes,
Copa Americas.
Copa Americas.
Yes. Oh, no, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's always interesting to see the differences in, like, technical ability and a tactical approach. I thought that was pretty fascinating to see the 3 different confederations, I guess.
And just from a US men's national team perspective, you want the US to have the best possible standard of tournament that it can be in. We're not going to be at the 2018 World Cup. Sorry if that's news to you. So entering any big tournament where you're going to go up against Brazil or someone like that is great. So maybe we have to wait till 2020 now.
But here's my question then, because like you, I think, were more excited about the possibility of the 2019 iteration than I was. I think because I never really thought it was going to happen. It seems like you maybe at least held out a glimmer of hope. So are you feeling frustrated, or are you feeling sort of let down, or is it just sort of like, yeah, okay, I get it, but I'm still kind of bummed?
Not frustrated, just disappointed. I'm disappointed.
I'm not mad, I'm disappointed?
Yeah, right. I mean, but not in the way that it's worse. You know, not like your parent is disappointed and you're like, at least yell at me, I'd feel better, right? It's more just sort of, I wish the US was sending a team. Even if it was a B team, I think it's a worthwhile exercise because we have have so many players bouncing around, right, that you could have sent still a decent team to the Copa America. It would still be valuable experience for that team. You could even have sent like an Olympic team, some U23s to that 2019 Copa America for the experience ready for Olympic qualifying.
That I agree with.
Anything would help.
Yep.
But that's not happening now. So as long as the 2020 Copa America thing works out, I'm good with it.
It will be disappointing if that doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, then I'll be yelling.
Okay, there we go. All right. So we've booked Daryl in for some yelling potentially.
There we go.
All
right. Put me down for some future yelling. Speaking of not so much yelling as more just kicking people.
Yep.
El Clásico.
Let's
get to our thumbs up, thumbs down review. I didn't think El Clásico would feature in a big way in our review because I had it in my head as it kind of doesn't matter. Real Madrid are waiting for the Champions League final. They can't win the league. Barcelona have wrapped up La Liga. All is good. I think I somehow misunderstood the value of El Clásico.
Yeah, and I think it's because there have been those seasons where there were like 4 El Clásicos in like 3 weeks because you had like them playing each other in the Champions League and then the league and then Copa del Rey, and you have those moments where it really does feel like, they're level on points or you know, they're
normally La
2 points
Liga's on the
separate.
line, right? Normally this
exactly.
game towards the end, even towards the end of the season, they're still within touching distance of each other. You think it matters either way in terms of points in winning the league. It's actually not that El Clásico needs boosting, right? But it's encouraging to see that it matters even when the league title is not at stake.
I think part of that, and because I'm with you, that I kind of had this like, oh yeah, it'll be fun to watch, but I didn't have that level of like must-see TV to go 1990s NBC. And in retrospect, it should have, because we knew going into it that Madrid weren't going to do the Guard of Honor. That probably sets a tone, and it felt like that first half definitely followed that tone.
Yeah.
Lots of kicks and fouls and lots of talking to the referee and to each other, culminating in the red card for Sergio Roberto. So maybe we should have seen that coming a little ways off.
Because there's also the element of Barcelona may be able to go unbeaten throughout La Liga. There'll be sort of an invincibles, which I don't think has happened since like 1920-something. I think Athletic Club de Bilbao did it. So it would be the first in the modern era to do it. So Real Madrid probably... I'm sure that was part of the discussion of let's stop them doing this. But also no one get injured because the Champions League final's coming.
There is that too. Ronaldo maybe didn't follow those plans entirely.
So I want to talk about that. There's lots to talk about in this game, but Ronaldo came out at half-time with what seemed to me a minor injury. And I've got a feeling that was... I haven't seen any quotes or anything from after the game, but I've got a feeling that was... If this was a regular Clásico and it was for the title and there wasn't a Champions League final a few weeks from now, he would have been risked for the second half.
Yeah, I think they said it was a mildly sprained ankle. Definitely seemed to be having some discomfort, and it was one of those where... he seems like he's going to carry on, and then within like 30 seconds he went for a tackle, and you could just see him pull up, like, I'm not putting my foot into that one.
Did he get injured scoring? Is this the sort of collision with Gerard Piqué as he sort of bundled over that Benzema header?
And I think it was just sort of like maybe he planted and slid a little bit, maybe there was contact. I don't think Piqué did anything nefarious. I didn't see Ronaldo complain, other than to say,
they kind of had a friendly chat afterwards.
Yeah, they had a couple of those. It felt like he and Piqué were having some conversations, especially with the red card. I saw Ronaldo doing some acting, I'll put it that way.
All right, before we get to the goals then, do you want to talk about the escalation at the end of the first half? I've got it in my notes of the very real-world example of that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
So it started with Sergio Ramos and Suarez getting into it. I think Ramos kind of knocked Suarez to the floor. And about a minute later, Messi does a thing I don't see him do that often, which is a Jermaine Jones revenge tackle on Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Don't you hurt my friend tackle.
Right? Yeah, it was definitely like, I may be small, but I can put those studs into your shin. Yeah, exactly.
But then there's Gareth Bale on Umtiti, and that's the one that seemed weird to me, because it wasn't about like getting revenge on Ramos or then getting revenge on Messi. It seems two players who were uninvolved in the original collisions, and really one player, because Gareth Bale is absolutely the perpetrator here, right? Chases Umtiti down and just stamps on the back of his calf.
Yeah, it was. I'm still confused by it, because for exactly what you said, that if he had been involved in that heat of the moment, like I would be then like, okay, yeah, it was intentional. But it feels almost like he goes in for it and doesn't know what to do with his foot, and so he's like, sure, Umtiti's calf, that's where it should go.
Well, because I think the temperature just got turned up so much, and I think you get sort of a rage in your head that was what was going on with Gareth Bale in that moment.
And so I was...
He's like, I want to be part of the club, I'm going to...
True, but I think I still just had this idea of like, I just don't think it, like, it just seems so strange. That, like,
are you trying to say he's not that kind of player?
No, I'm not. It's more so I'm trying to say that, like, in the moment it looked bad, and then I was like, oh, maybe it was accidental, because it just seemed like kind of away from the run of play, it's going out of bounds. But then I think I watched the replays, it looked really bad, I thought it probably shouldn't have been a red, crystallized by when he gets he actually gets a yellow in the 76th minute, and that is a very bad challenge too.
Yes.
And it just makes me wonder if maybe he does think, like, I might be able to get away with this, and so he leaves a foot in.
I'd actually misread things. I thought that was his second yellow, and he gets a yellow in the second half. I was shocked at that moment. I was shocked to learn he didn't get a yellow for that first tackle.
Yeah. It was a bad decision.
Did you see Umtiti refuse the handshake afterwards as well?
No, I didn't.
Correctly, I believe. Gareth Bale tried to just handshake it off, like, oh, it's all part of the game, and Umtiti just gave him this look of, like, that is not part of the game.
I think it was.
I did have done the exact same thing, and I'm a very polite opponent.
I feel like I would have accepted the handshake and then been mad at myself afterwards. But I thought it was interesting that Umtiti, one, hops right back up. And I think it wasn't, and I'm not saying that in the vein of, like, if he'd stayed down, maybe it would have been.
So not an Arjen Robben kind of way.
Yeah, no. But more so, like, it seems like he was like, I want to win this game. Like, I want to make sure nothing bad happens. I'm going to be right back up.
Yep.
But I did see him then when the incident happens with Sergio Roberto and
we should get to that.
Marcelo, I did see Umtiti immediately come over and point to where he was just kicked in the calf. Like, hey, man. How are you going to give red cards for some stuff and not for other stuff?
So that was the pinnacle of the escalation. It's Ron Burgundy sitting in a chair with whatever it is that he's drinking in that meme and in that scene from the movie.
Yeah.
When Sergio Roberto and Marcelo have a collision. Is it just Marcelo kind of just nudges Sergio Roberto?
Yeah, he definitely...
It's not a bad foul. It's the worst of the four things we just talked about.
But it's the initiating contact. I saw Madrid players doing this a lot. Not to say Barcelona players didn't, but I saw Madrid players a couple times. Varane especially would, like, as Messi was jogging across, would just give him a little bit of a bump. Like, just letting him know, like, I know you're there. I'm here too. And I do think it's a
light bullying.
Yeah, but I think it's an... not intelligent approach, but it's an understandable approach of you want to just... Because if you do succeed in... I've had that where a player just kind of like nudges me in the back, and I will sort of get angry for a moment and be like, I'm going to beat that guy. And again, we've talked about it before.
You turn slightly green, but then it subsides.
Yeah. Hulk says no. But like, if you're focused on that for a moment, you might... like lose track of what you're trying to do. And so it is, while frustrating, an understandable defensive approach to just sort of like leave a little bit of a nudge in just to try to like throw the player off. In this case, Marcelo, I mean, he doesn't need to do what he does. He definitely runs at an angle in order to make contact with Sergio Roberto and maybe just nudge him a little bit. Sergi, though, bites it, and that's the problem.
Smacks him in the face.
Yeah.
I kind of have to slap like an open hand or closed hand, but you just can't strike an opponent in the face and ever get away with it if someone sees it.
Nope. I mean, Marcelo definitely sells it a little bit, but again, to your point, it wouldn't really matter even if he hadn't. If somebody sees that, it's a punch, it's a slap to the face, it's going to be a red.
So off you go, Sergio Roberto. So I want to talk about the goals in a second, but it's 1-1 at the point that Roberto gets sent off. Second half, Barcelona come out in a 4-3-2. They just sort of said, all right, we've got one fewer midfielders. Let's just keep going with this three-man midfield. I think they thought maybe our three-man midfield matches up against Madrid's three-man midfield. I think they were using overlapping fullbacks as their sort of attacking weapon. And Messi and Suarez is enough to deal with up front anyway. So Valverde just sort of gambled on, this is enough to still take it to Real Madrid, even with 10 men for the second half. And I want to give him a thumbs up for being brave enough to not say, okay, it's 1-1, 10 men, everybody behind the ball. We want to keep our unbeaten record. We're just going to sort of, try and grind this one out, park the bus and all that sort of stuff. Instead, he's still got the draw, which is, even though they went up and then back down, the draw is what they would have taken, I think, right? Unbeaten record at home. And they did it with honour, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. And I think
honour being just not defending.
And I think even if it finishes the draw, I think probably if you were saying like who won this one overall, it probably goes to Valverde, not just because they keep the unbeaten run alive, but because I think Zidane expected exactly what you said. They don't want to like cough up this record, so they're probably going to go a little bit more defensive in the second half. They both make changes at halftime, but it did feel like Zidane's changes didn't really set Madrid up to have that much more dominance on the ball. Only when he dropped Casemiro back and they went to a back three and he really pushed Marcelo up the field, that was when you started to have like Madrid having consistent pressure and causing consistent problems for Barcelona. But for the beginning of the second half at least, it felt like Barcelona were kind of at equal strength. I kept thinking, like, ooh, Madrid are doing well to hold on to this with only 10 men. And then I remembered it was the other way around.
Okay, do you want to talk about the goals?
Sure.
So I want to start with a thumbs down to Marcelo for Barcelona's first goal.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of time praising Marcelo for his recent Champions League performances. I think it's firmly established that we are huge fans of his sort of attitude to the game, but also what he's capable of producing. But there's always that old criticism of him that he's not the most aware defender, which is often, I think, not true. I've seen him be super switched up. Remember when he wouldn't let Kylian Mbappe go by him? He was just ready. He was ready for those step overs. I was thinking, Marcelo's on it. This one, the overlapping run from Sergio Roberto, that he puts the cross in eventually for Suarez. It is Marcelo who just sort of looks over his shoulder and sees Sergio Roberto sprinting from right back all the way down the right wing, and just does an amble, not even a jog, an amble after.
I mean, it's why when Madrid played Bayern Munich, there was like all of the kind of coverage was about how I think it was Bild had identified Marcelo as the weak spot, that he was the vulnerable part in Madrid's defense, and then he scores the goal, and everybody's sort of like, oh, he's the vulnerable spot, he's the bad one. And at the time, I was like, yeah, that was kind of a silly headline. But also I was thinking, yeah, he scored a goal, but like they're still talking about his defensive ability. And it is definitely a thing that Barcelona seemed to target, was him being a little bit too far forward, maybe focusing a little bit too much on getting into the attack, not so much dropping back and making sure he was providing cover.
Yeah, I would say, not to get too deep on the tactics, but essentially Barcelona's plan to me seemed to be that Real Madrid have got 3 central midfielders, and they were doing the BBC thing, right? It was Bale, Benzema, Ronaldo, and none of those guys were actually playing like defensive winger and coming back. So that meant the only wide cover was the right back Nacho and the left back Marcelo. So anytime you could, if one of those comes forward, obviously then your right back needs to absolutely bomb past him, and then you'll be free as Roberto was to cross for Suarez.
There you go. Yeah. So I also feel bad for Marcelo because he definitely should have earned a penalty in the very end of the game.
Yes.
Definitely kicked by Jordi Alba.
Did he get a yellow for simulation?
Oh, I don't think so. I think did he really?
Or maybe for arguing.
I can't. He definitely gets one for dissent. He gets one after the fact, like a couple minutes later.
Yeah. But he was kicked in the shin, right? Definitely on his way through.
So it's funny because I think Ray Hudson had the same reaction I did, only slightly louder. But it was,
and it involved the word magisterial.
Yeah, almost certainly. But it was like the first couple replays, the angle they were showing it and the speed. It's something you and I have encountered when you watch something in ultra, like frame by frame slow motion. It can be actually harder to see what's happening because you lose a lot of the physics of what's going into it. And so it looks like, oh, I guess there was contact there.
It's like seeing a series of photos instead of a movie.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, literally, yeah, that's what it is. And so you lose like the momentum of the player. And so you might think like, oh, there's a little bit of contact, but is that enough? And it did feel like in this moment, the first replays, it looks like, oh, I think I see a kick there. Like maybe he gets a touch. And so then they went to the sideline reporter. And it was a credit to Ray Hudson for this one because
Kevin Egan,
I think. Yeah, it was.
I kept calling him Danny Egan.
That's fair.
It would have been a less friendly sideline reporter.
Almost certainly.
I would listen to a game where Danny Egan was the sideline reporter.
I think he'd be pretty cynical about soccer, was my guess. But in this case, Kevin Egan was trying to say like it did look like there was contact, and then they cut to the wider shot where you see, Jordi Alba just kicks Marcelo. Like, it is absolutely a kick to the shin. And Hudson just the entire time is like, ooh, that's like you can hear him just wanting to talk the whole time, but really trying to hold it in. But yes, it's definitely a penalty. Should have been given. I understand why Marcelo was as frustrated as he was, especially because then I think Barcelona go back down, Madrid get booked, and there's another yellow card given to a Madrid player. So it did feel like they were a little bit hard done. Then I had to keep reminding myself about the Bale challenge.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so that was towards the end of the game. We've lost the chronology a little bit, but we just described the Suarez goal to make it...
Not Marcelo goal, but yeah.
Well, sort of. Yeah. The Suarez goal to make it 1-0, which, by the way, I think he volleys with his shin, just for the record. I want to give, for the equaliser, a thumbs up, not just to Karim Benzema for the quite unselfish header back across goal, but to Cristiano Ronaldo for correct back heel usage.
Yep, agreed.
It's the perfect back heel. Not too flashy, as he's often accused of. It's the perfect sort of misdirection and element of surprise to put Toni Kroos down the wing.
And it's also, and it's because it's also holding onto the ball long enough that even if you're a defender and you see it coming, you still have to, it's Ronaldo in the box. Yeah. So you still have to step to him.
Because you're aware of him taking that touch and shot, right? So you've got to get in front of that.
So you have to be in front of that, maybe a little too close to him, just trying to like block off that shot. But because of that, you've come inside, you've left that space. Yep. That's where that back heel goes. That's why Kroos is there, wide open.
Yeah. All right. So then chronologically, then we have the red card. Yep. We have half time. We have Ronaldo not coming out for the second half. We have Barcelona, even though they took out Coutinho, they still went 4-3-2 and sort of still kept going at Real Madrid. We have Barcelona going 2-1 up in the 52nd minute with a Leo Messi goal and some, I'm going to say cheating from Luis Suarez.
Yes.
Crafty cheating from Luis Suarez.
Let's start with that, and then I'll give you my thumbs up. But
Okay.
yeah, it's Luis Suarez. At the time, I thought it was a correct no call. It's him and Varane basically tussling for the ball. Varane looks like slips and goes down, lets Suarez in on goal. But that was only, maybe 10 yards from midfield or thereabout. So it's a long run in from Suarez, goes to Messi. Messi scores. And I was like, oh, that's a good no call. Like, there's a little bit of contact, maybe a little bit of slippage.
Suarez put his hands up and everything, right? As if he hadn't done anything.
And then you watch the replay, and he sweeps that leg, Cobra Kai style.
He does, right?
Yeah.
He just so it's like from behind, from the ankle, and just hooks him. Yeah.
I mean, it is very
Cobra Kai is the best version of it.
Thank you, but also it is like definitive Luis Suarez in that you can see how he could make an argument that it wasn't intentional because Varane's in front of him. He's
a huge liar.
He's trying to run around, but you could just see like, oh no, I was just swinging my leg like I was trying to take a step, and there was contact, but it wasn't intentional. To the point where I'm pretty sure if you watch as he's sweeping that leg, he has his finger already up in the air, saying like, no, it's not a foul.
Preemptively making clear that he didn't do anything as he does the thing that he's doing.
Yes, and again that definitely should have been given as a
So
foul.
if Suarez is Cobra Kai, then this means Varane, who we're quite a big fan of, right? But he's still a younger defender. He needs to do some fence painting and some car waxing.
Yeah.
Yes?
Some fly catching? Does that happen too? Fly kicking? I forget what he does.
Yeah.
Some waxing on and waxing off. Yeah. All right. And a crane kick to maybe win the Champions League, and then he's good.
I think you would be sent off for a crane kick.
That's probably true. But I will say thumbs up to Leo Messi for reminding me that he always knows what he's doing, even when it seems like he doesn't.
Yeah.
If that's any other player, I would have thought, oh, he's lost this one. Because the ball goes to him, and I think he takes a bad touch, which is, I know, like almost blasphemous to say about Leo Messi, but it ends like it's kind of an out of control-ish looking dribble, and yet he still manages to hit that power left foot shot low to the corner. I mean, it's an amazing goal, but in that moment I was like, oh, he had a heavy touch. Like, oh, he's not going to be able to pull this one off. I think most other players wouldn't have been able to pull it off, but he just has that poise and that calmness, and I think the ability to get himself into the right like physical shooting position in a way that a lot of people don't.
I think that's about balance. He can sort of adopt the correct shooting position, even from weird angles when the ball's running away from him. The other thing I noticed about this goal is he doesn't really look up.
Nope.
He's looking at the ball the whole time. Does he just know the Camp Nou so well that he can sort of judge?
I think he probably knows his angles. Yeah. I mean, you could see it. He had the other like semi-breakaway that he shoots, and it's another one of those any other player.
That Suarez ball to him for that was incredible, by the way.
Absolutely. But I think any other player, they like maybe try to dribble in and chip it over the keeper, or try to do like kind of a bending shot, and you just knew left foot, he's going for that far post. If Navas doesn't get just the tip of a finger to it, it's probably going in.
I think for the goal, I think he's sort of like, I'm 74 blades of grass to the left of the penalty spot, so therefore this is the velocity and angle and curve I have to hit it with.
See, that checks out. I wouldn't be surprised because I have that much faith in Leo Messi. But maybe we should have more faith in Gareth Bale?
Yes, but only if Karim Benzema is helping him.
Well, there is that.
Yeah. So the thing I want to give a thumbs up to on the equalising Real Madrid goal is Karim Benzema dragging defenders away, opening the space for Gareth Bale to be able to
I think
shoot.
that is a fair thing to credit him for, because he absolutely takes a defender away, opens that space. Bale's able to run in first time volley from about 20 yards out. First time, I guess not even a volley.
Not a volley,
just a strike.
it's
just a strike. It just looks like a volley because it's so pretty. I would say credit to Asensio for that one, because moments before, Gareth Bale had made a very good run in behind. He had like just towed the offside line, and Asensio did not play it to him, and I think ended up shooting, and you could see the frustration. And I do feel like there was maybe an element of like, if he shoots this again, there are going to be words exchanged. But instead, he plays an inch-perfect pass into Gareth Bale. So well done to Asensio for maybe learning from his mistake.
So a thoroughly enjoyable game, 2-2. Real Madrid leave with their honour. Barcelona keep their unbeaten record. Ronaldo, I hope, doesn't get too injured for the Champions League final, because we want to see him in the Champions League final, right?
It really was.
We've seen him before in the Champions League final, but I'd like to see him again.
It was an El Clasico that should have had Pepe involved, is how it feels like.
Or Pep, as I've learned, just supposed to pronounce it.
Or that. But it just, because it had a red card, it had a lot of like feisty challenges, it had good goals, it had pretty goals, it had good like tactical adjustments. It was everything you would expect from a Clasico. With that said, I think Barcelona are probably the happier of the two to come out of that one with a 2-2 draw at home with the man down for an entire half.
That sounds fair to me. Okay, we got Premier League to talk about. We got some Major League Soccer to talk about.
We sure do.
But before we do, today's show is sponsored by Hims. Today's show is sponsored by Hims, a new wellness brand for men.
That's right. 66% of men lose their hair by age 35. I kind of curse Hims for this because that was not a thing that I really fully noticed. Ever since they've been advertising, I've been looking around. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I see it now, including myself. Full disclosure there. But it is sort of like, oh, yeah, it is a very common thing that I kind of forgot was that common.
So the thing is that when you do start to lose your hair, Hims wants you to know that when it starts happening, it might be too late, but you can take prescription medication in advance to help you keep your hair, maybe even to regrow it.
So Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss, and I think that's something that you and I kind of wanted to stress because we want basically to vouch for this product and as an actual way of dealing with an issue and not, for lack of a better term, snake oil?
Yes, absolutely. We are very careful on Total Soccer Show to not ever promote something that we do not believe works. This is not sort of a buy at the gas station type hair product. This is medical stuff that
extreme hair grow
that had brand names in the past. It's now generic, so you're able to get this a lot cheaper. So it's genuinely medical grade, as in proven to work.
So our listeners can get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today, right now while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy.
You go to hims.com, forhims.com/total soccer. That's forhims, forhims.com/total soccer. What's that URL again, Taylor?
Forhims.com/total soccer.
Good memory.
All one word, all lowercase. Forhims.com/total soccer. Forhims, thank you very much for sponsoring today's program. Now, Daryl, as you said, back to the Premier League. Or to the Premier League, I suppose.
To the Premier League we go. But I want to go bottom end.
Sure.
It's come to be the time of year.
It has.
When we talk relegation.
It is. And
mostly because relegation suddenly got interesting. It looked a foregone conclusion.
Yep.
Now there are some teams putting up a fight, and there are some already relegated. And by some, I mean one.
With that in mind, I want to say thumbs down right off the bat to the relegation camera.
The relegation camera?
Yes, when the team is when Stoke are struggling and it looks like they're going to be relegated, which they were, just the cut to the sad 8-year-old kid looking miserable and the 65-year-old man looking heartbroken and the young couple who look equally devastated.
Did you see there's a Stoke City fan with a really big beard that he had coloured red and white stripes. I
did not see this.
And someone said, even though Thanos is all powerful, he still can't stop Stoke City getting relegated.
I mean, some things just can't be prevented or dealt with. Yeah. No, I mean, but it really is I understand why they have to do it because it really conveys the human emotion and the human impact of the Premier League at the end of the season. But it is still sort of that kid's whole year is ruined. Or at least his week. Probably just his day. He's a little kid.
So, as you may have heard, Stoke City are relegated with a 2-1 loss to Crystal Palace. But I want to say, thumbs down to the blame being put on Ryan Shawcross, Stoke defender, for Stoke City's relegation.
Okay. I mean, first of all, to blame one player for one mistake in a game when the entire season hasn't gone very much according to plan.
So there is that.
A bit harsh, but then yes, I think to your...
But towards the, I don't know the minute, but towards the end of the game, there's Crystal Palace are on the break. Wilfried Zaha is running at the Crystal Palace defence.
It's 1-1 at this point. Yep.
Yeah, it's 1-1 at this point. He puts a kind of through ball that's might reach Patrick Van Aanholt, might not. Ryan Shawcross sort of lunges at it, gets a foot to it, but only succeeds in redirecting it to Patrick Van Aanholt, who is then one-on-one with the keeper, Jack Butland, I believe, and scores to make it 2-1. And then everybody knows that Stoke are officially down, losing this game.
And afterwards, he's the one who's interviewed. Yeah. And he looks like he's about to cry.
And the headlines are Shawcross mistake, relegate Stoke, all that kind. And he's been there 10 years.
Yep.
And there was a time when there was a stat a few years ago where Stoke hadn't conceded with Ryan Shawcross in the team through the first half of the season.
I think they said afterwards that he's the only player remaining from when Stoke first got promoted 10 years ago.
Wow.
Or maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, however long ago it was.
Okay, but here's the thing. I went and rewatched this goal in context, not just you see the pass, you see the Shawcross redirection, you see Van Aanholt finish.
Yep.
And what I see is a run down the left from Van Aanholt and right wing back, because they've sort of gone to a more attacking formation at this point, searching for a winner. Bauer notices...
Because Fossey Mensah wouldn't have let this happen. That's all I'm saying.
Notices the... He plays for Palace. Notices the run from Van Aanholt, and Bauer just sort of points to him and gestures to Kurt Zouma.
Timothy Fosu-Mensah never would have done that.
He's playing right centre-back. And Kurt Zouma doesn't see this because, you know what, Bauer? You can't just point at people. That's not defending. That's not how that works.
No.
Right? So Van Aanholt is 100% clear on the left. The only person who notices is Ryan Shawcross, who's already marking Christian Benteke. So the reason Shawcross is over there trying to cut this pass out is he's doing the work of two other teammates who failed to do the work of tracking Van Aanholt down the left.
And I think...
Team Shawcross.
I was not as inclined to agree with you on this one until we watched it again. And the other thing I thought was interesting is like the way you were explaining it off air. I was thinking like, oh, so he like really like sprints to try to like intercept that ball, and in so doing, just can't get to it, redirects it, and it leads to a goal. He doesn't really like change his speed that much, but it's because he's still trying to hold the line as well.
Yes.
Which I think is like he really is caught in just a no-win position because he can't do much because otherwise he's going to drop back and break the offside line. But if he tries to cheat over, then he leaves space for like an incoming run. So it really is, he's just kind of caught in no man's land, and now is the scapegoat.
He shouldn't be the guy who takes the blame, right?
Nope.
Who watches the Watchmen? Don't know. But who defends the defenders? I do.
I don't know what that's from.
Who watches the Watchmen?
Yeah.
It's
Is it
just
from
a
The
general
Watchmen?
phrase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the other thing I want to talk about is Jeff
I really
Cameron.
did think you were like quoting a comic book. I was like, what, Daryl?
So Jeff Cameron did not play for Stoke in this game. Jeff Cameron, US men's national team defender, has been relegated with Stoke. I saw a lot. No one asked us directly, but I saw a lot of people asking on Twitter, what next for Jeff Cameron? Does he go down with Stoke? Does he get a move to another Premier League team? Does he come back to Major League Soccer? And I did some research and found that Jeff Cameron signed a new contract last summer. He is contracted to Stoke City until 2020.
Yep.
I think he stays.
I think he does too. I think he probably stays and goes down, fights in the championship. Maybe if they don't come right back up, maybe then at the end of that season, he looks to move on. But I think he is in that pay range where they can afford to keep him. They'll have the parachute payment. He makes enough, but a little enough that they probably won't get a huge offer for him. Yeah. But they also can afford to keep him.
He's also, I know we know him, but he's not a high-profile defender in the Premier League.
And has injury risks.
And he's 32 now. I don't think that there'll be many offers, or maybe any offers, for Jeff Cameron from Premier League teams.
I think that's safe.
Which I'm not happy about, but I think that's the realistic situation for Jeff Cameron.
Prove us wrong, Jeff. Prove us wrong.
Well, I don't think he's in a rush to come back to Major League Soccer. I think he's better off playing in the Championship. And frankly, like, he's out of the team because, say, Kurt Zouma is there on loan from Chelsea. Kurt Zuma's not going to stay for next season, right? Ryan Shawcross might stay because he's Stoke through and through and all that. So there's a chance that actually getting relegated means that Jeff Cameron gets to play pretty much be a starter for Stoke and play that way.
It is a bit more of a grind, though, in the Championship. So
it certainly is.
Maybe World Cup recovery. Maybe no World Cup is good for Jeff Cameron. He has a whole summer to rest up.
He's possibly got 46 games ahead of him.
I didn't even convince myself with that one. I didn't even feel good saying it.
The other angle here is that it's unlikely that Jeff Cameron is going to be a big part of the US men's national team going forward. Right? We've already entered the Matt Miazga, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Eric Palmer-Brown, and others era.
Yep.
Right? So it may be that just Jeff Cameron, we have to just think of him as not someone who's going to be this rock for the US anymore, especially because he fell out with management, right? As far as we understand. He's just going to be a guy that we have to sort of enjoy seeing him in the Championship from time to time.
All right. I agree with that. I will say, though, thumbs up to the Premier League clubs who are already preparing to rifle through the pockets of Stoke's corpse, because that's about what's going to happen here.
Horrible image.
I mean, it's true, though. That is basically what happens, is like you look at the teams that get relegated, and if you're one of the teams going up, if you're one of the teams who stayed up, you might think, well, there's value in there. I think if you're one of the teams who stayed up convincingly, there's value in there.
Can we say instead that someone is picking their pockets as they fall down an elevator?
Is that better?
It's actually worse.
You know, it's like,
never mind.
Because that means someone can fly, I think, and it isn't saving somebody who can't. But I mean, you look at it, Xherdan Shaqiri, I think, is probably going to get a move to a decently competitive team. As in, I don't think he gets that top flight move that maybe he would have wanted a couple years ago, but I think he is good enough.
You suggested a team earlier.
Everton. I think it's probably Everton. And I say not as competitive.
No, didn't you say West Ham?
Oh, I think I ended up on at West Ham. That's right. Yes. West Ham seem like West Ham under David Moyes, I think, is that sort of like there's that fight and there's that grit that seems to have been reestablished. I feel like Xherdan Shaqiri could fit in there. The question is the money aspect of that. I think, what did you say? He's on like $65,000 a week. Is
That's,
what we think?
I mean, according to a story I read,
that seems decent enough for a club like West Ham or Everton to go for. I mean, I would say Jack Butland is probably going to get some offers. I think
he'll probably go to the World Cup. He might not start, but he'll probably be one of England's 3 World Cup keepers.
Yeah, so I think any club who need need a new goalkeeper and are maybe looking for an English goalkeeper as well, that's the one to go. Mame Biram Diouf, I think, has done enough, scored enough goals over the past few years to get some looks. And Joe Allen, I think, is also one who could be a championship player and look very good, but also might be one of those who gets some looks from other Premier League teams next season.
My fond hope is Peter Crouch gets more minutes in the Championship as well.
I bet he does, and I bet he stays.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right,
Peter Crouch.
I would say my final one from this game, thumbs up to...
I won't be watching the Championship next season, but...
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, you don't have to. Thumbs up to Roy Hodgson for getting the job done, and thumbs up to Frank Linehan for calling me out on Twitter a couple weeks ago.
What if...
Because you were making a compelling argument for why Roy Hodgson has done a really good job, and I don't know why, but I was just like, no, I don't agree. I don't think he's done that well. Forgetting...
He's just feisty.
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe I need to eat or something. A little bit of hanger coming in. But, I mean, this is the same Roy Hodgson who took over for a Crystal Palace team who did not get a point in their first 7 games, looked completely rudderless, looked like they were not going to come even close to competing. It seemed like Wilfried Zaha was going to be sold in January because he was like the one person on that team who did seem like they could still get some money, so then maybe Crystal Palace could reinvest it, looking towards maybe next season of the Championship. Instead, they stay up and look strong. I think that means Roy Hodgson stays, which is something that Crystal Palace desperately need, is consistency through the summer.
There was a lot of really exciting stuff happening. So I saw this game and I saw highlights of Crystal Palace's recent 5-0 win. I can't remember over who it was. Leicester City, maybe. They just look fun. Like things like Ruben Loftus-Cheek doing back heels and Wilfried Zaha dribbling at people. It's
Townsend
really fun
and Zaha up top together. Yeah,
it's really good stuff.
Yeah, so I think well done to Roy Hodgson. I should have given him more
MacArthur's
credit.
the under-the-radar, skillful, interesting player.
It's a good finish from him in this game, too. Yeah. So there we are.
I enjoyed your apology.
All right.
I enjoyed your
To Roy Hodgson, but not to you, but to Frank.
What else in the Premier League? What else did you see?
I'm going to say this might be... I don't think this is homerism, but I'm curious to hear your
talk Man
opinion.
United?
We are going to talk Man United. So Man United lose away to Brighton 1-0.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho afterwards... pretty furious, pretty openly hostile towards some of his players. One of his many quotes, he had a few different ones, was, maybe now, talking to the media, you will not ask me why A, B, and C do not play so much. People always ask, why always Lukaku? Well, now they know why always Lukaku, and why always this player, and why always that player. We are probably not as good as people think we are individually, end quote.
Wow.
He had a few other ones which made it very clear that
it's just hanging a for sale sign, right?
I think so. And I think this is why I say it's up. In my opinion, it's thumbs up to Mourinho for being very smart, because I think he knows, top 4 is secure. It's a matter of is it second, third, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think he also knows that because of that, there could be, like on the part of the Glazers, maybe they don't want to spend so much money this summer since they have been spending money. But I think if you go out there and show these 6 players, 5 players, however many, are not good enough and we're not going to challenge for the title with these people in there, you can see it now. And then you kind of publicly drag them to the goals.
Are you accusing Mourinho of match fixing here?
No, I think I'm accusing him of...
Told Chris Hughton, here's the plan today. Here's how you exploit it. Make sure you beat us.
He did say...
Damian.
Another one of his quotes is like, he basically told him, you're going to lose this game. Like, he told him that because of he felt like the approach...
Before the game?
Yeah, in the practices leading up to the game, in the warm-up, he didn't feel like they were sharp enough. He told them at halftime, like, if you don't pick it up, if you don't start playing this way, like, you're not going to get this result. And I think he just felt like some of the players are not responding in the way he wants them to. Maybe that's him trying to find a way to not put this on himself, because I think a lot of people have pointed out that Pep Guardiola inherited lots of players that he maybe didn't necessarily want, but has found ways to incorporate.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is Jose Mourinho, hanging a for sale sign around at several players' necks.
So we looked at the starting lineup for this game, and so you can guess the players who don't normally start who did start are the players he's talking about. So Damian.
Yep.
Martial seems like he struggles to get
so.
starts for Manchester United.
I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford goes out on loan. I don't think they want to get rid of him, or maybe they see what he does in the offseason. But he made a lot of bad decisions, and I feel like at least twice a game has opportunities to either get himself in a better shooting position or make a better decision in passing instead of shooting. And it seems like he routinely doesn't make the smarter choice, so I think he needs to improve his decision-making.
Other names I saw on the team sheet were Marcos Rojo, who we haven't seen a lot of before, and Juan Mata, who I'm not sure about. I always think Juan Mata puts in a great shift.
I think he does just enough to maybe merit another year. I love Juan Mata, so I hope he does. But Daley Blind seems like he is already out the door.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Marouane Fellaini, has not, as far as I know, re-signed for next season, so he might be available on a free.
We might have a World Cup to prove
But
it.
I think they basically are trying to get him to sign an extension solely so that they make money off of him when they sell him. So I doubt he does that.
Okay. Not everybody cares about Man United as much as you.
This is definitely true.
Let's go back.
Well, but I did want to ask. Well, no, my question was just like, but do you think that is homerism for me? Maybe it's just me like liking a conspiracy as well. I find it strange that he was so publicly like these players are not.
I genuinely think it's interesting because most coaches don't give massive clues about who they want to sell. Because essentially the way he worded it means there are certain players who started today and we lost, and now you know why they don't start, and they're on their way out. They don't want to be here. Okay. So yes, it is interesting.
Cool. All right.
But also, life is short, time is short, and I want to talk more relegation.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So there's a game coming up this Tuesday.
Yep.
It is, let me check who's at home, Swansea City versus Southampton, Tuesday, 2:45 Eastern. These two teams are level on points, right? They're on 33 points. I actually don't know who's in 17th. Is it Southampton? Or in 17th, and Swansea in 18th on goal difference.
Yep.
This game is massive. But the reason this game is so massive is because of what happened this weekend, right? Results this weekend. I think I'm saying thumbs up to the Swansea and Southampton results this weekend for setting up some drama on Tuesday.
Agreed.
Where shall we start? Let's start with Southampton-Everton.
Let's do it.
Southampton were beating Everton. It was 1-0.
Yep.
It was a goal from Redmond, who'd actually come in off the bench because Lamina was injured. It kind of worked out nicely for Mark Hughes. He'd been forced into a substitution. Redford had put Southampton 1-0 up. Redmond, excuse me.
Robert Redford, swooping in at the last minute.
In the 96th minute, Everton equalised. And heartbreaking as it is for Southampton fans, I've got to give a thumbs up to Idrissa Gana Gueye for putting some disguise on a pass.
Okay.
Because I love when this happens.
All right, what did he do?
So have you seen it?
Because I have an alternate take on this one. But yes, I have.
Okay, so for our listeners, I'll describe it correctly, then you can give the inaccurate version. So
it's not about the play in general. It's the overarching idea.
So it's a short Everton corner. It goes short instead of coming into the box to Idrissa Gana Gueye.
Yep.
And he takes a touch and he sort of shapes as if he's going to cross, and everybody is crowded into the box. Like Southampton players are thinking, I'm going to head this away. Instead, he squares it to the top of the box where Tom Davies is waiting, pretty much open. Davies takes a first-time shot, and I think it deflects off of Hoyt, the centre-back who is not Virgil van Dijk, deflects off of him and goes past McCarthy in goal to make it 1-1. So I think Guy basically... Actually, I think everyone refers to him as Idrissa Gana now, so I'm going to do that. Gana basically confused everybody to set up Tom Davies for that strike.
So before we get into this further, I wanted to ask, because we haven't started doing our World Cup previews. Those are to come in the near future. England's group is England, Belgium, Tunisia, or Morocco?
Panama.
And Panama. Okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to say this was the equivalent of England playing Tunisia. In that,
which team is which?
I'm saying thumbs up to Big Sam for resigning from the England job, because I feel like this game was a good indicator, a good representation of what you would have seen from England at the World Cup, which is like, yay, they scored in the final minute against Tunisia or against Panama to keep us like alive in the group. And it just felt to me like this is very representative of Sam Allardyce, that he's going to get points when they matter, but it's not going to be the most exciting sort of game. I mean, the fact that they were being, I would say heavily, at the very least openly booed by their own fans
Everton.
after they went 1-0 down.
Yeah.
It just, I definitely had a moment of like, I feel like England fans should be very happy that there was that whole scandal, because it seems like Gareth Southgate has a plan and a way he wants to play that is different and interesting and seems to have energized the England team in a way that maybe Everton could have used.
I think that's fair. Pints of wine all round.
So that's my only thing, is like, it's not a criticism of Idrissa Gueye, or it's not anything about like Tom Davies, or it's just more so that I watched this game and just thought, I get why Everton fans aren't 100% convinced by Sam Allardyce.
But at the same time, Southampton, you'd argue, maybe would or should have capitalised on this.
I would say so, definitely, yeah.
One of the bad things for Southampton, Yoshida, the centre-back, was sent off for a slightly clumsy foul in the 86 minutes.
Double yellow.
So as they were sort of defending this out, they lost a big guy.
Yeah,
and then
they probably could have used this coming week.
Could have used, Then in the other game, I think what I find interesting here is the sort of the parallel of why neither of the two relegation-threatened teams that we're talking about managed to win. Swansea lost to Bournemouth. But thumbs up to a tricky Bournemouth free kick, which is similar to the Idrissa Gana pass, right? So for Bournemouth, Andrew Sermon is standing over the ball. There's another player standing alongside him, right? So it's a free kick slightly to the right, at the top of the box. And a lot of teams do that thing, right, where a right footer and a left footer stand over the ball, and then the opposition is thinking, oh, who's taking this? Is it going to swing this way or that way with the right footer or the left footer, right? The wall's lined up for that. The keeper's lined up. The Swansea keeper's lined up. Instead, Sermon for Bournemouth squares the ball rolls it basically across the top of the penalty box in a straight line to a waiting Ryan Fraser, who manages to just hit it right-footed from the top of the box. And obviously he scores, which is why we're talking about it. But the result to me of that pass is it's like they managed to take a free kick and remove the wall.
Yeah.
You remove the wall, change the angle, beat the keeper.
And I think
it's amazing stuff from Bournemouth. I think that's a great Eddie Howe moment.
I think it is too, and I think it's like a good reminder. Variety is the spice of life. That like if you
innovation is the spice of life.
Yeah, because if you just do the same thing, like maybe you're going to hit it on target, maybe you'll score a goal, but equally likely you hit it wide or over or into the wall.
Yep.
And I think teams get
no matter
used to
how many
that.
times Ronaldo breathes in and out.
Yeah. And like I know, again, I hesitate to compare things to like our amateur team, but like in our indoor league where you can the penalty, if you get a penalty, you can like dribble in. It's almost like a penalty in hockey.
Yeah.
Do you remember the team that we played against who, instead of shooting, the guy just backheeled it to a teammate, but the goalkeeper had come charging out, so now there's a wide open goal?
Yeah.
Like I feel like those moments are a good reminder of like, yeah, you kind of got to keep like improvising and adapting and evolving to try different stuff, because if you're always just hitting a free kick from a tight angle that seems like it has a low percentage chance of actually being a goal, why not try something a little different? Maybe it doesn't come off, or maybe it ends in a goal that was all important for Bournemouth.
So I recommend people go find this. It's Ryan Fraser's goal for Bournemouth against Swansea.
Yeah.
And the end result is, as we said, Southampton in 17th on 33 points.
I'm shaking my head at Daryl,
What's
listeners, because I feel like maybe this isn't necessarily intentional, but it's also not unintentional. That we're talking about the relegation battle here. We've talked about Stoke, we've talked about Swansea, we've talked about Southampton. We have not talked about West Brom, and I feel like there's a reason.
No, so the honest reason is not because I'm a Wolves fan. I don't want to talk about West Brom.
Sure.
It is actually quite inspiring, sort of how Darren Moore has got them sort of up and running. The honest answer is I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I know it. I saw the result. I haven't seen the footage of West Brom's goal against Tottenham.
I mean, just imagine a lot of bodies and the ball, I think, crossing the line. That's about the way it goes. I mean, but
so it was a Tony Pulis legacy goal.
A little bit. But I will say, like, it.
Did a centre back score it?
I forget who scored. I have it right in front of me. Jake Livermore scored.
Oh, no.
So no, but still not like a goal scored. But I will say, I don't want to do a disservice to West Brom because there were multiple chances. Harry Kane almost scored an own goal in this one. I had a bunch of jokes queued up about that one, but he really did. If it weren't
it's about
for
him not claiming things
a little bit,
yeah.
If it weren't like for
you
some
got to innovate,
very...
Taylor. You got to be more original.
See, exactly. I know,
Talk
right?
To
I got to
jokes.
try different things. But if it weren't for Hugo Lloris, he makes a very good reaction save. That could have been a goal. There was another very good chance for West Brom before they did actually score. So it felt like, I don't want to say they got really lucky with this kind of scrum of a goal, but it is also what happens when you are the team. And this was another point Mourinho made about Brighton, is like if you are the team that is fighting for your life and you're another team who's like, yeah, we're probably top four, it's okay. The team that is fighting for its life is going to find a way to make something happen.
Don't you wish that all these relegation threatened teams had sort of
100%.
kicked into this gear maybe 2 or 3 weeks earlier?
It's the same thing as when like big teams are losing and then they finally like, oh yeah, right, we want to win this game in the 75th minute. It's like, where was this for the first 75 minutes of this game? But yeah, I mean, it is really interesting, like this the relegation race, as it were, relegation battle, I guess. Because 2 weeks ago, maybe even a week ago, we would have thought like, yeah, it's pretty much done. Like maybe there will be.
I was
some drama on the
convinced
final
West
day.
Brom would finish bottom.
Yeah, I thought it was West
even
Brom.
if they don't stay up, it's not an achievement, but it's an improvement to not finish bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could be one of the situations where they end up appointing the permanent manager and then it falls apart, but it does seem like maybe they found a manager even if they don't stay up for next season. It seems like he has, like Match of the Day did a really good job of pointing out how organized West Brom looked in this one, how they just kind of played very smart, straightforward, 2 banks of 4, we're going to cause problems, we're going to be compact.
That's been the story since Moore took over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think Darren, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think he has definitely played himself into strong consideration, if not getting the job outright this week, even if relegated.
All right, one final plug then for the game this Tuesday.
Yep.
I think you cut me off from mentioning it again. Swansea versus Southampton. That is the relegation battle, right?
It is indeed.
And then we'll see where we stand going into the final match day. So the reason of these midweek games is sort of to even out the schedule, right? But so by the time we get to the final match day for the Premier League next weekend, all the games kick off at the same time. Nobody has an advantage over each other, and then it just all plays out.
Yep. Really quick final one in the Premier League for me. Just a quick thumbs up to Huddersfield, because I know our friend Pav was pretty terrified about their final run of games.
But 1 thumb up, not 3, right?
Exactly. They got that point, but it does seem like they've put themselves with a point. A draw against Man City, was it?
Yeah, this weekend.
Thank you. because it was Man City, then away to Chelsea, then home to Arsenal on the final day. Felt like it was going to be tough for them to get any points. To pick up one in the first game really goes a long way towards helping them be in a much stronger position.
So I'd like to give our listeners a view behind the curtain. I asked Pav if he would come on the show and talk about Huddersfield's season and play the Wikipedia game with us, because he's very good at the Wiki game, right? So he's a good guy to get on here. He said he'll only come on and talk about Huddersfield if they stay up.
All right.
He doesn't want to come on and talk about them getting relegated.
Can we get him to talk about the New York Derby maybe instead?
I doubt he would be interested in talking about the New York Derby, but I am.
Yeah.
I guess the Cooligans are not interested in talking about the
Probably
New York Derby either. But we've got to talk about the Hudson River Derby.
Yep.
New York Red Bulls 4, New York City FC 0. It was intense.
Yep.
It was intense, and it was, I'm going to say, pretty much all over after 4 minutes.
For one team, it was intentionally intense, and for the other team, it was intense, is how I'm going to put that.
So for people who haven't seen this, and maybe for people who have, should we maybe start with some description?
Sure.
I think the best description of this game is I've got a thumbs up to Kaku for New York Red Bulls for his running start.
All right.
So it's not just because he scores the first goal in the second minute and assists on the second goal in the fourth minute. If you watch Kaku from kickoff, he is in a sort of sprinter's stance. He doesn't have the block, so he's sort of up a little bit. And as soon as the whistle goes, he is off like some sort of bounty hunter, sprinting, chasing down New York City FC players, forces a long ball, and sprints like literally half the field to end up getting there to close down. I think it's Shaylin is the defender that he forces to play long. Red Bulls do this for the entire first 4 minutes. They do not let New York City FC put more than one or two passes together.
Yeah, and it
was terrifying.
I mean, it's even Bradley Wright Phillips jumps offside before kickoff even happens because he's so ready to do this pressure.
Did you call it offside?
I mean, he jumps into NYCFC's half before kickoff has occurred. I think that's offside. I'm not sure what that would be.
I guess that's offside in the NFL, right?
Yeah. Either way, it's not given. Or a neutral zone infraction, I guess. But I would say, and I know this is about to sound hyperbolic, so bear with me.
I love hyperbole.
But I think it's because
it's the best thing in the world.
I think because... That's good. That's a good one. I think because the Red Bulls are in that bright red, the all-red kit.
Yeah.
It was a reminder of the Dutch team in the 70s when they did that sort of you just see the whole orange squad just swarm forward and just teams be completely. I remember Uruguay, I think it was, just being completely overwhelmed by it, and it felt like that in those opening minutes. That it was just there are just 4 red shirts, and now there's 4 more red shirts. How do we get out of this? I guess we kick it long. Oh no, there's 4 of them there too. I don't know how they're doing this.
Do you think the red jerseys add something to it? I genuinely do. I just
think the red hair adds something to it.
It looks more terrifying. It looks more terrifying when you got all those red jerseys coming at you.
I think so. Maybe it's the bull thing. It's why people in red cars get more speeding tickets. It's eye catching. It draws attention.
Is that a real thing?
I think it's definitely, if you have a red sports car, you are going to pay a higher insurance premium than a black sports car.
But aren't you more likely to buy a red sports car if you're the type of dummy that likes to drive fast?
Well,
I think there's a cause and effect thing going on there.
That's possible. I don't know the causality, whatever correlation thing. I don't know. It's all confusing. But either way.
I don't know any statistical terms. But
That's
you know
fine.
what I'm talking about.
I do, and I also know that you're absolutely correct. That this aggressive approach from the Red Bulls completely throws off New York City.
If only there was a way to see it coming.
There needs to be an easier way to do this. There's too many initials and numbers and things in here. I get confused.
I'm going to say Red Bulls and NYC.
Okay, let's do it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Patrick Vieira knew this was coming, right? So did Jesse Marsch just dial it up even more than usual? Was the sort of Jesse Marsch's surprise thing was we're going to do the press, but we're going to do it more so?
That seemed to be Taylor Twellman's
like any other
takeaway.
press, but more so.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I think that was what Taylor Twellman was getting
If
at.
anyone gets that reference, please email me.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure somebody will, and I'm sure we'll get a tweet saying Taylor didn't appreciate it. But Taylor Twellman did appreciate that press. I think when Derek Etienne scores the 4th, he was arguing that this is a team that are so locked in that even the substitutes coming in know exactly how to press, exactly what's expected of them. I also think that maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that Patrick Vieira thought, we are so good in possession, we are so good on the ball, that we can handle that press. And I think that's maybe why they looked a little bit slow and weren't so set up to handle that press, is because I think he trusted his players to be able to be calm under pressure, and they were not.
Didn't we talk about this as, you could talk about it as like the possession team versus the pressing team, which is actually how people talked about NYCFC versus Atlanta. Remember that a few weeks back? And you could call it sort of the unstoppable force meets the immovable object, but then the immovable object finds out that it is actually very movable.
It's like, oh no, I'm on like a moving pallet. Why is that? There are wheels under me. That's not good. And I will say, it's interesting to me because for the first goal, you would say, like, oh, yeah, the press, it causes problems, and then it leads to this goal because NYC are completely overwhelmed. I would say thumbs up to New York for like basically executing a counterattack that looked 100% like a Jurgen Klopp team. Maybe because they're wearing bright red, but the first goal, it comes from NYC basically being pressed into clearing from their defense, and it ends up being a really good clearance because it's low-driven.
Again. I think I called him Chalen earlier, but it's Callen.
There we go.
He's forced to clear long, yeah.
But it goes to David Villa, who tries to do like a little like reverse instep pass to Medina, I believe it was, or was it Morales? It was Morales.
It's Morales, yeah. Which, by the way, was the exact sort of pass that worked against Atlanta when they did this to Atlanta. David Villa did exactly that for one of NYC's goals.
But I think, and I will name the player in a moment, but I will say that if this ball drops to Morales, you have Jesus Medina and Joe Inga Burgett are making perfectly timed runs on either flank, and they would be wide open.
Yep.
This would be a 3 or 4 on 3, I think, and they would definitely have gotten, at very least, a very good look on goal.
Because what the Red Bulls do is very high risk.
But... And to that point, the reason why this ball doesn't go to Morales is because Tyler Adams is working his butt off and gets back in and intercepts that pass and leads to this counter from the Red Bulls. But this is where I firmly agree with Taylor Twellman, that it is everybody buying into it, that if you have everybody working 100%, you are going to have them put David Villa under pressure where he has to kind of go for that difficult pass, and then you are going to have another player step in and intercept. If you have a player who's only 80% dialed in, maybe Tyler Adams is 2 steps slower, maybe Morales gets that ball, suddenly it's a very different story.
Adams sprints so the ball's going towards the Red Bulls goal, Adams sort of sprints back, overtakes Morales, and sort of gets to the ball first. I think Morales might think he's getting that ball unless someone tells him that Adams is coming.
But it's how, I was going to say, but it's how close these games can be that if that play doesn't happen and Morales gets that ball, I genuinely believe NYC score. And then suddenly it's New York or the Red Bulls hoisted by their own petard, and they're like went for it, and then in the end they're kind of made to pay for being too aggressive.
Happen, right? It happens to Liverpool sometimes. That's why I think it's one of the most thrilling ways to play soccer, because it can go either way.
I think Red Bulls fans would agree.
NYC not so much. Not so much. This week. The thing I was going to say is what I love about the Tyler Adams role in this is not just that he sort of gets there first, is that with one touch he makes this very sort of weird but clever pass to Davies that sort of sends the play in the opposite direction. Then Davies can pick his head up and find Bradley Wright Phillips, and then one shot and a save later, and Kaku is scoring. I just love that Tyler Adams is not just running around like a crazy man, which is sort of what he does, right? He runs around with high intensity and gets there first, but he started to add this sort of ability to redirect the play as soon as he gets there.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, because like if you're just chaos, like if you're just causing chaos, then when you get the ball, you might just still be causing chaos, except for your own team now, because you've got the ball, but I don't know what to do with it, I'm just going to kick it. And I think it is, because we talked about this time and time again, how difficult it can be to go from high intensity, high energy press to like, and now I'm calm on the ball and I'm going to pick out a pass. And it does seem like Tyler Adams has really developed his game in a way that allows him to be much more calm on the ball than he probably has justification to be, given how high energy he is.
I think it's hard. You need like a weird Jekyll and Hyde thing when you're a Red Bulls, especially if you're a midfielder, because you've got to sort of go hard, go intense, like chase everything down. Then as soon as you get it, you've got to try and be a bit calmer and make the right pass. Final thumbs up I want to give to Jesse Marsh. Remember what I said about Kaku at the start? He's their attacking midfielder. He chased the ball down. He was like a key part of the press from very early on. This is why the trade of letting Sasha Kleshton go and bringing Kaku in was the correct decision. Even though Kleshton was this beloved figure, even though he has all these assists, even though he pulls off some magical moments and he's a joy to watch, he is not the same. He's not going to sprint from kickoff and press in the way that Kaku did. This is Jesse Marsh knowing, I want to build a team to play exactly the way I want to play. And even a really talented player like Kleshton doesn't quite fit correctly, and I'm going to improve the team by replacing him. Is that a round of applause for Jesse Marsh?
This is a round of applause for you for making that point, because I think it is easy in the moment to be like, what? You're getting rid of Sasha Kleshton and you got rid of Dax McCarty. What's wrong with you? But then you look at the way they strengthen
Tyler Adams and Kaku.
Yeah, and suddenly they look very, very good. Bradley Wright Phillips looks like he is Bradley Wright Phillips, and they seem like they're well poised for a decent run this season.
So if there are any NYC fans are still listening, should we put them out of their misery with the final mention in this game going to Bradley Wright Phillips?
Sure. I was going to go a different NYC player, but yes, in the lead up to the thing that you're about to talk about, I'm going to give it's not really thumbs up, thumbs down, but it's like thumbs down fist pat on the back to Alex Ring because
is that a massage?
He needs a little bit of a pickup, is all I'm saying. It's like, it's okay, buddy, because Bradley Wright Phillips goes out, Derek Etienne Jr. comes in.
I don't think that's a straight
I don't think it was
other.
either, but basically Bradley Wright Phillips, for the purposes of this story, BWP on the sideline, Derek Etienne Jr. on the field.
This is like a biopic where you've slightly manipulated the timeline.
Hey, baby, you got to do what you got to do, man. You got to make the narrative fit. But he gets past Etienne, gets past Alex Ring with a really quick little like touch and go.
I can't watch it again. I feel so bad for
And then
Alex
Ring tries to make up for it, I think, by getting back into like a good central defensive position. But then he is the one who I would say misplays, maybe misreads it, but either way, the ball goes past him into the path of Derek Etienne Jr., rounds the goalkeeper, puts it in.
What's weird to me about this goal, this Etienne goal, and the thing with Ring, is I've seen this happen at all levels of soccer where the forward is just strong and he kind of, the defender's trying to hold the forward and the forward sort of rolls the defender and like holds the defender and rolls away from him and gets the ball. But I can't quite tell what happens with this goal because Etienne doesn't roll Ring. Ring seems to just make a weird step to the ball.
I think he just takes the wrong step. And so I think he basically expects it to come, like the best way I can explain it is like, he steps to the right, he expects it to come right at him, but it goes one step further to the right, and so then he has to kind of try to lunge across, and then he isn't in a position to like make a play on the ball. He's reacting to the ball, whereas Derek Etienne has come inside and just blocked off Alex Ring a tiny little bit. I don't see any infraction there. I don't see a foul, but he's put himself in the position to then be on the end of that ball.
And that was game over.
It was. And it led to Bradley Wright Phillips doing hilarious things, which is what you were going to get to.
Yeah, so you spotted this. It was Wright Phillips on the bench, does the sort of, I don't know how to describe this with, I'm doing it right now. It's hand, almost like a blade, and you're doing it across your throat.
Yeah.
It's the throat cutting gesture, meaning this thing is over.
Yeah, but the difference being it wasn't like the Andrew Carlton in the World Cup where he did like the full thumb slash, which is a different gesture entirely.
It was a bit more comical, right?
Yeah, he was like doing it on the bench with people around him who were
you can imagine less. You don't imagine blood when he does it.
No.
Whereas the Andrew Carlton one, you could sort of.
I think that's it
because
it really was. You're right. It was like game over. Like we're done here. Versus
it wasn't like
I have mercilessly slaughtered you.
I make the incision here.
Exactly.
Carlton's is more like a tracheotomy, and Bradley Wright Phillips was just more like a hand wave.
It was a sloppy tracheotomy.
Sandra Bullock one.
Sure. What?
Email me if you get that joke.
I'm really curious now.
We'll talk about it later.
The only one I can think of off the top of my head is when Jennifer Lopez does one in Anaconda, I think. I forget who does one there.
I have not seen that movie.
Well, you gotta tighten up your giant blank eats people game, Daryl.
All right, so I did not see any other Major League Soccer games, but there's a good reason, and it's because I'm waiting for Monday night. Have you heard about MLS Rewind? This is not an ad. This is just a thing I'm excited about. MLS Rewind, which I take to be a sort of match of the day for Major League Soccer, apparently airs Monday night on ESPN+.
Match of the other day in this case.
Match of the other day. That's what they should call it. That would be amazing. Some people might be annoyed because they don't subscribe to ESPN+, but I think if you're an MLS super fan, you probably already do. And so I'm going to give this a try as my way of taking in all the Major League Soccer action will be to watch MLS Rewind.
All right.
Tentative thumbs up for the idea, and I'm hoping they execute it correctly. One thing I'm really hoping for, guys, please don't play music over the highlights. Please don't play music over the highlights.
Oh boy. We'll see. We'll see if Gerald gets his wish.
Yeah,
maybe on the next show.
But we'll be tuning in to take a look.
We will indeed. But for now, before we do that, we should probably get to the TSS Scouting Network. Does that work for you, or do you have more games to get to?
I saw some NWSL highlights.
Okay.
And I want to say thumbs up to Rumi Utsugi. Rumi Utsugi is the Seattle Reign midfielder, Japanese midfielder. Scored the winner for the Seattle Reign in a 3-2 win over the Portland Thorns. 75th minute winner. I would recommend just finding the highlight of this. It's really good. It's once again, I'm big on fakes today. She fakes out Margaret Purse because there's a short ball comes to Utsugi from a short corner, I believe. Utsugi fakes like she's going to take this ball and take off with her right foot. Purse bites on it. And Utsugi does that great thing where you let the ball run across you instead and take it on your left foot. 2 touches later, the ball's in the back of the net from 20-something yards.
Decent.
To win, it's a big derby, right?
Yeah.
The Seattle Reign, Portland Thorns derby. It's the Cascadia derby in NWSL. Utsugi with the winner. Go find it.
There we go. All right. Do that. And then also keep an eye on the Bundesliga table. We didn't talk much about them, but did want to note one game left to be played. Borussia Dortmund in third on 55. Hoffenheim in 4th on 52. Leverkusen in 5th on 52 as well. Leverkusen playing Hanover, who are safe from relegation but don't have much to play for, so you would expect a win there. Dortmund play Hoffenheim on the final match day. It is at Hoffenheim, so both of those teams kind of needing a result to make sure that they're at least...
Right.
Dortmund need a draw. Hoffenheim probably looking for the win to make sure that they definitely qualify for the Champions League.
So we assume Pulisic in this game. I will be watching that. Oh, and if anyone's asking us about the Liverpool, Christian Pulisic to Liverpool rumours, I think we'll talk more about it when there's something more concrete. It's just tabloid talk at this point. But one thing is I say go for it if he gets the chance.
Yeah.
I say go for it.
Unless
what?
I would say maybe Arsene Wenger turns up at Dortmund. Because they lost 2-1 this weekend to Mainz. I can't imagine that helps with the
you're still
situation.
on the Wenger to Dortmund train.
Yeah.
Speaking of Americans in the Bundesliga, I believe Weston McKennie and Schalke qualified for the Champions League.
You are
we'll
correct.
be watching
automatically.
Weston McKennie in the Champions League next season.
Weston McKennie in that starting lineup as well.
Set your DVRs.
I like it. I'm excited.
Just for all next season's Champions League games.
That's so exciting. I did not realize that. And I'm now
McKennie,
even more
Pulisic.
pumped. Tatagui?
That might be it.
Possibly?
Possibly. I'm ready for the Scouting Network.
All right, sir. Then
get
we've
in
got
there.
several to get to, starting with Michael Thompson, scouting Chris Gloucester, 17-year-old American left back for Hanover, unofficially but officially. Chris Gloucester has been called up to the US U19s to play against Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and the Czech Republic, and another to-be-determined country in the Slovakia Cup, which I promise, says Michael, is a real competition.
Should the other team be Slovakia?
They are in the other group.
I
There's
see.
2 groups. Yeah. Good question, though. Fair question. This should be a good chance for Gloucester to play again while he waits for his transfer to Hanover to officially go through on his 18th birthday, which is July 28th.
Elijah Bates is scouting Zian Jones, the 17-year-old American forward for the aforementioned Schalke. Elijah says Zian Jones will be getting his first action in months when he plays for the US Under-19s in the 2018 Slovakia Cup. That's an exciting generation of players.
I would say so. We shall have to keep an eye on that. Alex Tremmel scouting Gianluca Busio, the 15-year-old American midfielder/forward for Swope Park Rangers.
So I was going to say, speaking of exciting generation of players,
he makes
Busio's in the
Daryl
next
gasp.
one. Yeah.
He makes Daryl gasp. Gianluca Busio helped the US U17s win the Sport Chain Cup in April, playing in 4 games in 6 days and notching 1 goal and 1 assist in the first game against Norway.
To be young.
Busio also... Oh, my... I didn't even think about that. That sounds miserable. Busio also played for Swope Park Rangers.
I'd love to play 4 games in 6 days.
I would love to be able to play 4 games in 6 games.
You have played 4 games in 6 days as recently as like a month ago. If
Really?
you include all our indoor stuff and
Okay.
midweek games, and yeah.
Well, maybe that explains why my body is slowly breaking down. Busio also played for Swope Park Rangers against St. Louis FC last weekend. While he didn't provide much going forward, he did have a 100% passing accuracy during the game, which is 30 for 30. Normally, we would not include that stat, I think, except for the fact that you pointed out that he is 15 years old.
Yes, so please don't start sending us passing percentages. Yep. But I saw this widely shared. I think Scuffed shared this, the passing map. It was a lot of safe passes, right? He was playing like deep midfield and passing it to fullbacks and other midfielders and nothing too dangerous. But to be 15, play a professional game and have 100% passing accuracy, I think is perfect. I think he's got one eye on a future 30 for 30 documentary.
Yeah, that checks out.
Called 30
Why
for
not?
30.
Why not? Who's next, Daryl Grove?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're too busy laughing at your joke?
Correct. Email me if you get that. Next.
Oh, my God.
Next scouting report is from Ed Ritter.
That's like why did the chicken cross the road? Email if you got that one. Like that one wasn't even hidden.
That one was a callback. Ed Ritter is scouting Ben Mines, the 17-year-old American winger for New York Red Bulls 2, future presser. That's what I'm going to say.
Stop me if you get that one. Huh? To email me if you can take that one? I don't know. Whatever. Anyway.
Ed says, stop me if you've heard this before, but Ben Mines was in the 18 but did not play in the Red Bulls 4-0 Derby rout on Saturday. Ben started for the Red Bull New York 2 team on Sunday against Nashville and played 70 minutes in their 1-1 draw.
More USL action. Russell Varner scouting Hugo Arellano, the 20-year-old American defender for Los Dos, LA Galaxy 2. Friday proved to be a mixed bag for Hugo Arellano. He scored his first pro goal, so that's good, but Los Dos blew a 3-1 lead to lose 4-3. Less ideal. Arellano should have been sent off for a second yellow after giving away an awful penalty that led to the game-winning penalty. Corner of the Galaxy said after the game, quote, Arellano is on an MLS contract and it looks like he can't handle the pressures of USL, end quote.
Ooh, that's hard. I mean, to be fair, you are playing against Didier Drogba in that game.
Well, there is that, yeah.
So, or Kitty Kappa, as Brooks likes to call him. So I did see some highlights of this.
Kitty Kappa is Didier Drogba's cat.
So he doesn't play.
And he has to stay out of the sink. Otherwise, he's a disgrace. I left off some words there.
I'm assuming we'll get scouting reports about this game. But Ulysses Yanez scored, Efrain Alvarez scored, Alex Mendez was involved. This was really like the last DOS show till half time. But then Didier Drogba stepped up.
Remember who's Didier Drogba?
Drogba literally had a drink from a fan, took a corner kick, and Phoenix equalised.
It seems like a good time to be cheering for Phoenix. It really does.
Didier Drogba seems to be loving it playing for Phoenix. James Pearson is scouting Mason Toye, the 19-year-old American forward at Minnesota United. James says Mason Toye got his first start and his first red card for an elbow on Kendall Waston. I've got a scouting update. Mason Toye's a brave man.
Yeah.
James says that Mason was better at this game and was more aggressive in closing down defenders.
Sounds that way.
But still stayed rooted between the centre-backs when the Loons have possession.
Jonas Lehmann-Karp scouting Matt Miazga, 22-year-old American defender on loan at Vitesse from Chelsea. Miazga was a huge factor in Vitesse's 2-2 draw against Willem II.
Willem II. Yeah.
Willem II, heading in a corner for a goal in the team's final game of the regular season.
There's a Matt Miazga goal and I haven't seen it? Oh, well, hopefully we see him again in May and June playing for the US men's national team.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, especially if he scores. Robert Newman is scouting Mason Mount, the 19-year-old English midfielder on loan at Vitesse from Chelsea, who's a Matt Miazga teammate. Robert says Mason Mount contributed a game-tying assist in the 83rd minute of that 2-2 draw. I wonder who scored that goal. Mount is not going back to Chelsea just yet, as Vitesse finished 6th in the league, which earned them a spot in the Dutch Europa League playoff. Oh, that's a game worth watching then, to see if Miazga gets into Europe.
Or Vitesse do, and then Miazga maybe
true.
Does. We shall see. We shall see. Scott Friedman scouting Emre Moore, the 20-year-old Turkish winger for Celta Vigo. We might have to look into this one when we get back to our things we've missed. Moore will likely be leaving Celta after disciplinary issues and a clash with his manager.
No more details?
Not in this report. I think there was a link to the story about it, but it seems like maybe he won't be getting any more minutes this season. Had a falling out with the manager. I think it was a public falling out as well. We'll have to do that. We do plan to do at least one more sort of things we missed.
Yes.
From this season roundup.
Yeah.
Maybe that will be in there.
And then we get into the World Cup. And then we won't miss anything. Zebu A is scouting Lucero Cuevas, the 22-year-old Mexican striker for Club America. Zebu says Cuevas was slowed by a minor leg injury and America were knocked out of the Liguilla semi-finals by Tigres. Meanwhile, Cuevas has stated that her next objective is to play club soccer in Europe. Have you seen the footage of the I've forgotten if it's called the Femenal, I can't remember the name of the Mexican Women's League, but there is footage of the final and the crowd is huge and loud. It looks great.
No, I have not seen that, but I will. I have seen a report about Ademola Lookman. There we go. Transition.
Okay.
Taylor Mukaria scouting Ademola Lookman, 20-year-old English attacker on loan at RB Leipzig from Everton, and one who it should not have taken me this long to say. I feel like destined for big things next season, whether they be in the Bundesliga or the Premier League. Lookman started and scored twice in a 4-1 RB Leipzig home win over Wolfsburg. Both goals were the result of Lookman sprinting into the box and finishing nice passes each time. Since joining RB Leipzig at the end of January, Lookman has appeared 10 times with 6 starts, 4 goals, 1 assist.
That's not bad, but not like superstar for Leipzig, right?
I mean, no, but it's enough that I think they might look to make that loan permanent or at least get that loan again, whereas Everton, who have attacking options, maybe they want just one more at least in preseason. We shall see.
Enough. Philip Andreni is scouting Andre Green, the 19-year-old English winger at Aston Villa. Philip says Green finally made his return from his second hamstring injury of the season, playing 85 minutes for Villa's U23s in their Premier League Cup final victory over Swansea. Green did not make it onto the team sheet for Villa's final game of the season against Millwall. I'm assuming that's the Villa first team in the Championship.
You are correct. I did want to say Championship regular season now over, the playoffs will start. Dale Grove, how bitter are you not to have gotten 100 points?
I'm okay with it.
You sure?
I'm sad about Wolves losing 3-0 to Sunderland because that's just not a great way to end the season. And I thought I cared about 100 points, but then I remember seeing footage of Wolves with the trophy and thinking about Wolves in the Premier League next season, and I just sort of thought, it ain't nothing but a number.
You'll be all right, I think. Then that leads us to Manny Alcantara scouting Junior Firpo, the 21-year-old Dominican left back for Real Betis.
Yeah.
Firpo appeared to hurt his left knee early on in Real Betis' match against Athletic Bilbao. Junior tried to play through the pain, but was subbed out in the 19th minute.
Alex Wellman-Farwell is scouting Harry Wilson, the 21-year-old Welsh left-sided player on loan at Hull from Liverpool. Harry Wilson played the full 90 and had a generally poor game in Hull's 1-1 draw with Brentford. Wilson made several sloppy errors, including missing a penalty in the 58th minute, which would have put Hull 2-1 up. Sadly, this match was a disappointing end to what was otherwise a very productive loan spell for Wilson.
Sam Eskelson, scouting Callum Stretch, 18-year-old American defender at the University of Denver, or soon to be at the University of Denver. Callum Stretch spent the last 2 years with Aston Villa's U18s and U23 teams, but recently announced his move to the University of Denver for the fall season.
So that means Villa have let him go?
Or he has let himself go from Villa. Either way, yes, he is not playing for Aston Villa anymore.
Final report of the day comes from John Fernandez. John Fernandez is scouting Borja Mayoral, the 20-year-old Spanish striker for Real Madrid.
I think he also plays for the University of Denver. I could be wrong.
Mayoral he scored some goals for him. Mayoral finally got some playing time in the match before El Clásico, playing the full 90 minutes against Leganés and scoring the winner in a 2-1 victory. This goal was the 6th of the season, despite not playing 1,000 minutes even so far this season. Borja stated after the match, "I'm sure I'll have to leave at the end of the season to find regular playing time somewhere else." Borja, I could have told you that last summer because you play for Real Madrid.
There is that. Seems like that's a lesson that doesn't really get learned. Mm-hmm. It's just
everyone thinks it won't happen to them.
Those white jerseys, man, they're just so alluring.
Los merengues?
Sí, por supuesto.
Los blancos?
Sí, por supuesto, more confidently.
Thank you to everybody who sent us scouting reports.
Por supuesto.
Also, sort of thank you to everybody who tweeted to remind us that Mohamed Salah is not the only Muslim player at Liverpool, that Sadio Mane, Emre Can are also Muslim. We did know that, honestly. I think I just sort of misspoke. I was trying to say that the reason people are asking questions about Ramadan and fasting are just because he's the high-profile player on a team that is majority non-Muslim,
and
if that makes sense.
Yeah, and Daryl also apologizes for saying that Roma aren't good at soccer and didn't belong in the Champions League semifinal. I can't believe you said that, Daryl.
I didn't say that.
No. I think everybody else in the media did for some reason.
Oh, I see.
It's a very weird take from a lot of pundits about that one.
So I've wandered us into this, but we also heard from quite a few high school coaches talking about stopper sweeper, and basically saying that they sort of agree that it is not the most advanced tactic. This is all in response to Thursday's question show. But also for some high school coaches, it's basically the best possible version of what they can do and makes sense for them.
There we go.
Okay, I just wanted to let people know that we had some very polite emails, people explaining why they sometimes use a stopper sweeper and that it actually does make sense for the level they're playing at or for the personnel they've got and the limited time they have to work on defensive systems. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm aware that sometimes we have quite a few listeners and sometimes what we say carries weight, and I think I quite irresponsibly said if your coach is getting you to play a stopper sweeper system, you might want to have a word with him. So we could have some 16-year-olds listen to the show and then causing trouble in practice and asking their coach questions just because I said something without thinking. You know what I'm saying?
DARYL at TotalSoccerShow.com.
So for movie references you get and complaints about your kids talking to you on the field.
Yep. There we go. Still curious as to when Sandra Bullock performed a tracheotomy. I'm fascinated.
I'll tell you afterwards. We might find out I've got confused, but I'm pretty confident that she did.
I feel like you're probably right.
Yeah. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, we'll be back tomorrow with an interview show. I'll be talking to Aaron Dolores, from Black Arrow FC. Taylor and I will be back later in the week with all kinds of soccer stuff to talk about.
Indeed.